No, I was just saying that modernism versus contemporary, that modernism is a movement of a particular style, just like arts and crafts movement or the neoclassical movement. It speaks to a particular style of a particular time.
Right.
But contemporary, it's a little bit funny because it speaks less to a specific style and more to the fact that any designer that's doing design right now is a contemporary designer because they're using elements that are currently available to them, technologies that are currently available to them.
That's right.
It doesn't mean that you wouldn't put a 17th century piece of furniture into a contemporary design. It's not just about having everything being modern.
No.
Or a modern design.
So you were talking to an interior designer this weekend?
So it was to one of my good clients, the senior designer told her junior folks she wanted them to go out and define the difference between being modern versus contemporary. What does that mean? And she asked me to define it, and I said that modernism was a movement in design, and you might incorporate those elements, but to be a contemporary designer just means that you incorporate all kinds of things.
That's true. That's right.
That are both, they may include modern things from a modernist perspective or a modernist design, but...
So would you say that we are not in modernism now? In other words, modernism might just reflect something from the 50s, the 40s, or the 60s. Is this movement, and again, contemporary, I understand what you're saying, contemporary design?
I wouldn't call a lot of what I'm seeing in terms of the current contemporary designers. There's some that use modernism or modernist elements, but there's so much more. I mean, you look at a designer like Jun Ho, who has very contemporary designs, but so many of the elements bring in really wonderful classic Asian elements into his designs. And so is he a contemporary designer? Absolutely. Is he a modernist designer? Maybe on some of the things that he does, but overall, I would say that his design is contemporary because it's something that's happening right now, using many of the elements and the technologies that we have available to us currently.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think it precludes using 18th century furniture if you're a contemporary designer. A contemporary home speaks sometimes to having more modernist elements, but it's not necessarily the case at all. I think that any home that uses a variety of elements that are available to us now would be considered a contemporary.
That is like Schreiber design, using the side horses as bedside.
Absolutely. In an otherwise really clean room. I look at like the guys from G2, Gary and Gunnar. They do incredibly slick interiors that would be much more speaking, nodding much more to that modernism of having a minimal modernist kind of feel. But then they bring in really early 17th century furniture in order to bring depth and warmth.
And also sort of throws off the expectation of the room with the space. It creates interest and interruption. It's disruptive on some level, which
creates interest.
Yeah, it creates interest, exactly.
And what we like to say from our perspective is that it gives a room soul.
Yeah.
Is that sometimes the really, really modern looking homes can be really cold. Yes. And by bringing in these older elements, it gives it a nod to history of design, but also those warm elements of a piece that has had life for a long time. It's been touched by many people, and you bring those elements into your home, and it's part of what makes your home a lot more interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, beautiful, yes, but interesting for sure.
Which kind of explains this art behind your head.
Yes, so for us, it's been a big change to sort of try to incorporate some modern art in with our more classical designs.
I've not seen you do this before. I've never seen this.
No. It's a big change for us. It's kind of exciting. Actually, my favorite moment is if you walk back, Jack, and look at this wonderful abstract through this wonderful 19th century French chandelier. And you see the golden tones that reflect through both. And the chandelier has so much classical form. And then the painting is the absence of those forms. It's an abstract, but together they make. You could see the room that they would be in together. And you're like, oh,
Yeah,
that's a room I'd like to be in.
Yeah, that is very exciting as far as interior design goes, as far as decor and style, because you really do have a mix, but yet there's a compatibility there,
Right.
which is very nice.
They speak to one another for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And it makes for, I think, a lot more interesting home when you can incorporate different elements.
Oh, that's really, really nice. Really beautiful. All right, well, I'm going to turn this off here now because the battery's going out, but thanks you guys for anyone who is listening.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, see you guys. Bye, Jam.